So Donald Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, horrible guy, just a terrible person, went on CNN yesterday, was interviewed by Jake Tapper and straight up said, we're not going to control the pandemic. All hell has broken loose. Although if you've been paying attention, we're 8 or 9 months in. Of course, they're not going to control the pandemic. That's obvious at this point. You just wouldn't imagine that Mark Meadows would straight up say it. Check out, this is, we call him the maskless wonder, Mark Meadows, because he's known for walking around every Trump rally with no mask, hugging people, touching people, high-fiving people. He says, we're not going to control the pandemic.
So here's what we have to do. We're not going to control the pandemic. We are going to control the fact that we get vaccines, therapeutics, and other mitigation.
Why aren't we going to get
areas
control of the pandemic?
Because it is a contagious virus, just like the flu.
Yeah, but why not make efforts to contain it?
Well, we are making efforts to contain it.
By running all over the country, not wearing a mask?
Jake,
that's what the vice president's doing.
We can get into the back and forth. Let me just say this. Is what we need to do is make sure that we have the proper mitigation factors, whether it's therapies or vaccines or treatments.
Now, of course, we don't have those things that Mark Meadows says we should have. But also, Mark Meadows is wrong. It can be contained. Look at the places that have contained it. Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, Slovakia, Bangladesh with a very low death rate, Australia, of course, with a very low death rate. We know it can be done in countries of varied geographical size and varied population size because they've done it. Listen to Jake Tapper here as we continue, having to treat Mark Meadows like a little kid.
To make sure that people don't die from this, but to suggest that we're going to actually quarantine all of America, lock down our economy.
No one's saying that.
Well, they are. Joe Biden's saying that. He says lock everybody down. We're going to have a dark winter. We're going to have a dark winter.
That's what health officials say. That's what health officials say, that it's going to get worse.
No,
we
that's
have the two
Joe Biden's
worst days.
Jake,
let's be honest. Infections, Friday and Saturday.
Let's be honest here. The health officials did not say dark winter. Those were Joe Biden's words.
When we look at a health official, I think he was quoting William Haseltine.
When we look at the number of cases increasing, what we have to do is make sure that we fight it with therapeutics and vaccines, take proper mitigation factors in terms of social distancing and masks when we can.
So Mark Meadows there, again, listing things we should do that they are not doing. But again, anybody looking at the trend lines sees a dark winter coming. Look at the chart of cases in the United States. I'll describe it. I've marked the first 2 spikes and look at the trend line. We have the first red arrow here points to spike number 1, where we got to 35,000 cases a day. Then the numbers backed off a little bit. The second arrow is spike number 2 in July, 75,000 cases a day. And now we already had a record 81,000 and 79,000 cases per day on Friday and Saturday. And the trend line is going to the moon. If this were a stock chart of a stock you owned, you'd be getting ready to make a ton of money because it looks like it's going to the moon. Sadly, this is not a stock chart. This is coronavirus cases. Next, Mark Meadows tries to go after Joe Biden, hilariously.
And when we look at this, we're going to defeat it, Jake, because we're Americans. We do that. And this president is leading while Joe Biden is sitting there suggesting that we're going to mandate masks.
The president is holding rallies all over the country.
That's correct.
No
In fact,
masks,
we're leaving.
No masks required, no distancing. There have already been, according to health officials, contact tracing. There have already been cases of individuals in Minnesota and in Washington, D.C., and in Oklahoma that got the virus at these Trump rallies that Dr. Fauci himself called a super spreader event, the one at the White House.
There's also been contact tracing, Jake.
That is not leading.
There's also been contact tracing.
Imagine saying Biden is the problem because he wants a mask mandate, which, by the way, is not something a president can do unilaterally. This often isn't discussed, but a presidential mask mandate, by everything I've read from left and right wing constitutional scholars, a presidential mask mandate would be one of 2 things. Either the president asks all 50 governors to do a mask mandate, in which case it's states' rights, it's 50 governors saying, let's do this. Or Congress would have to pass something through the ability of the federal government to regulate commerce in states. Those are the 2 ways. So the idea of a unilateral presidential mask mandate is really a fantasy idea, quite frankly. Understand what it really means. But again, the fact that people are having this argument, we have a situation where people are arguing about the freedom to give the virus to other people. That's essentially what it is. Freedom to do whatever the hell I want, regardless of the consequences. And then they have to go to what Joe Biden might do after the chief of staff says we're not going to control the virus. This should be in a Biden ad immediately. Mark Meadows plainly saying we're not going to control the pandemic. We know, Mark. We know. We're going to take a quick break. Make sure you're following us on Instagram at David Pakman Show. See what I was up to this weekend. Follow me on Instagram at david.pakman. One of our sponsors is privacy.com. They're giving you $5 when you sign up for their completely free service at privacy.com/Pakman. I've been using Privacy for a little over a year now. You've heard me talk about it before. It's a lifesaver, and here's how it works. Takes just a couple of minutes to set up. Anytime you buy something online or on the phone, instead of actually using your real credit card number, the Privacy app and the browser plugin let you give each company a randomized virtual credit card number that you create out of thin air. It'll even autofill the card number with one click. And the payment is taken out of your checking account without the merchant ever knowing your real information. So this allows you to keep your banking information secure, but also to take control of your finances. You can create up to 12 of these virtual credit cards a month. You can set spending limits. You can freeze them. You can delete them anytime you want. So when you do this, it means you're not going to be charged when you don't want to be, because you can destroy the virtual card number right after using it, which, for instance, I love using free trials because I know I won't be charged when the trial is over if I use a virtual credit card number. You're keeping your identity private by not telling companies who you are. You're keeping your bank or credit card info protected against data breaches and identity theft, and it's free. There's no catch whatsoever. But if you want, Privacy also offers a $10 a month plan that gives you 1% cash back and lets you create 36 credit cards a month, and a $25 a month plan tailored more for small businesses where you can create 60 card numbers a month and much more. But definitely go ahead and at least get started with the free plan. You'll protect your financial info. Companies can't charge you unexpectedly. And like I said, you'll get $5 to spend when you sign up at privacy.com/Pakman.